Hello, my name is Ed Frawley. My wife and I own Leerburg. This is a unique question. It's a Q&A that came in through our Ask Cindy portal on the front of Leerburg.com. And I always say, you don't need to be a customer of Leerburg to ask a question. If we can answer it, we will. Cindy answers questions every single day. And then we have a big database of past questions with the answers. But this is one I've never seen before, so that's why I picked it. I don't know, it just makes you shake your head. Maybe better that I just read it. She says, I follow your recall and remote collar program, and my dog is near perfect on recall most of the time. He was very well behaved off leash on our property before this happened. We're very protective of the collar training. Only me and my wife use it, but we left the dog with a family member while we went on vacation who used old school shock punishment style training and made my cattle dog collar wise. I'll say this too. When you talk about training with a remote collar, in my opinion, others may argue, in my opinion, it's only a matter of time before a dog gets collar wise. Every single dog is going to get collar wise. I don't care how many months you have your dog wear the collar ahead of time. I don't care, all of that. Sooner or later, every dog's going to get collar wise. Anyway, my dog got collar wise and we haven't been able to break it. That's normal. He now, though, he won't come without the remote collar on. And he will hide from us when we try to put it on. The no longer coming without the collar on is probably the worst part about this whole thing. We've tried rewarding the dog when we put it on. Nothing works. So Cindy's really cuts to the chase here. She said, this is an unfortunate situation that you found yourself in. And we don't let anyone use a remote collar on our dog, no matter who they are. Don't even have the collar available. If you're going to take your dog and leave him someplace, don't leave the remote collar, no matter how well the people think they are. They don't know your dog. They don't know how your dog was trained. They may think they do. I'm sorry, they don't. I don't take Cindy's dog out. Our dogs, I'll back this up, say our dogs get a remote collar on every morning. It's part of their life. They come out of the bedroom, they get the remote collar on, and it's on them all the time. It doesn't come off. So she goes on to say, if someone else watches my dog, I don't give them the collar, and the dog must be either on a long line or in a secure fenced yard 100% of the time. What does that mean? That means there is no taking your dog off leash for a nice hike in the woods at all. If it's not on a long line, don't do it. It comes under the category of you're okay until you're not. And when you're not, that's a problem. Cindy goes on, I don't want an accident with my dog getting hurt, but I admit I never even thought about someone using remote collars the wrong way on my dog. I would have been very upset. Very upset? That's not the word I would have used. What Cindy would have been if somebody would have used a remote collar on Art, her German Shepherd. But on the other hand, Art would have probably solved that problem himself. I think all you can do at this point is start from scratch. Don't allow him to avoid getting the collar on. In other words, get the dog to come to you. Don't let him outside. Before he goes outside, from now on, this dog has to be on a leash all the time, a long line, all the time. Don't let him outside. Don't let him out of a dog kennel. Don't let him out of a crate without putting a leash on him. Once you get the leash on him, then put the remote collar on him. There's nothing wrong with every time he gets the remote collar put on. As long as you have control of him, every time he gets the collar on, he gets a reward for it. He can get multiple rewards for it. You can have the remote collar put on and give him the food in his bowl for his morning. We feed our dogs twice a day, for his morning meal or his afternoon meal. Makes no difference. Is that going to solve this dog's problem? Maybe. Maybe not. We've had cattle, this is a cattle dog. We've had cattle dogs before, and they can be a handful. Cindy says, I make my dog wear the collar a lot when I never, ever use it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Keep in mind here, Cindy has a 3-year-old German Shepherd, very strong German Shepherd. I have now got, I've had my strong German Shepherds my whole life, but now I got a Chihuahua, a Border Terrier, and a Shih Tzu, and I love them. And the Border Terrier is 13 years old and is going deaf, and she gets a collar on every single day. I don't remember the last time I ever used stimulation, but what I do use is the vibration to communicate with her. Because she'll go off and smell and smell and smell, and I can't call her, so I just tap her a little bit with the vibration, and she's, oh, okay. It's like I'm reminding her to come, and when she comes, I give her a treat. It works great. I don't need to use stimulation on the remote to shock her to come. That's probably not the right word because it's really not a shock. But anyway, Cindy goes on, never call him when you don't have a way to reinforce the recall. And I say that again and again and again and again in the course I recently released on how to train your dog to come when called. You don't allow your dog to practice bad behavior. Dogs are really, really smart, and if you have a dog like this that doesn't want to come because he thinks he's going to get the remote collar on, and he does something to get away from it, that's practicing bad behavior. And he thinks, it worked that time. I'm going to remember that one, and I'll put that in my bag of tricks. And he may have a number of different ways to not come when you call him. So the solution there is to control the dog, manage the dog with your long line, with your leash, put him in a yard. If he's in a yard, don't call him because it's time to go. Walk over to him and get him, or let him drag the long line around in the yard. Dogs are smart, but sometimes they don't know where the end of a 20-foot leash is. We have these really thin, 1/8 of an inch, flexible, hollow tube nylon 20-foot drag lines. Perfect solution for a dog like this. And they roll right up and stick in your pocket too. So here's an important thing too. Don't get in a hurry to try and test your training. You're just asking for a problem. I mean, it could be weeks, maybe months. And when you do practice it, do it in the fenced yard. Do it when the dog is dragging a 20-foot drag line around. And then Cindy goes on to say, my fully trained dog wears the collar every single day when we go outside, or even when it goes in our unfenced yard. So the dog, we have a fenced yard in front of our kennel or by our house. Even there, when the dog goes in there, he has a remote collar on. Basically what Cindy says here, she says, I want to be ready for the unexpected. And then the customer comes back and says, thanks for your advice. Sounds like some work, but we will get him back to normal. Super high drive, engaged cattle dog. And we love cattle dogs, but they are a handful, most of them. The customer says, it was a judgment error on our part. I thought a conversation and a demo on how to use the collar would override the past training mistakes that this relative had in relation to our dog. Wrong. I mean, my hobby's fishing. I was out fishing 2 days ago, and when I got my boat in at the end of the day, the parking area was empty except a guy drove up with his wife and it looked to be like a 7-month-old lab puppy. Really a cool little puppy. And that guy gets out and he's got a remote collar on the dog, and the dog's off leash, no collar on the dog. And he's just stupid, the stuff he was trying to make this puppy do. The puppy wanted to get in the water and chase dummies that they throw out, and he was making this puppy come, sit. It was everything I could do. First I got pissed. I think how stupid it was. And then I thought, maybe I just ought to go over there and tell him what I do for a living and give him a little lesson on it. And then I thought, you know, that guy's not going to listen to me. You just got to feel sorry for the dog. Remote collars, in my opinion, are one of the best training aids that's ever been devised. But people need to learn how to use them. And when they do learn how to use them, you can use them like we do. and it's just part of our communication system with our dogs. We don't have to go out and push the stimulation button. We'll use the vibration. And you know, Cindy, at times we have a lot of deer on our property. And Art is at the point where he absolutely, if a deer was right there and take off, if a rabbit was right there, it takes off, he ignores them because he's had experience on what happens if Cindy says, no, don't chase that deer, don't chase that rabbit. He respects the power that's in that remote collar. So if you want to learn how to use a remote collar correctly, just go to our website. I have a really good video on remote collar training for the pet owner, and it doesn't cost very much money.